Today's review could be said to be a lesson on the importance of cover design, on how a book is packaged. What's on the cover of a book is at least as important, if not more important, than what is in the book itself. Why? Because if you never open the book, because the cover is unattractive or in some way offensive, the potential reader will never open it to discover what's inside it. When I first saw JRR Tolkien's Sanctifying myth on the Regenery Publishing website, I was like, ooh, new Tolkien book on the Lord of the Rings. And I wanted to check this out and see what it has to say about Tolkien and how he saw his own myth relating to his Roman Catholic faith. Well, it turns out, though, this isn't a new book. It does have a new introduction, but this book was originally published in 2003. At that time, it had a picture of JRR Tolkien himself on the cover. And I didn't have much interest in picking it up with that cover, but when I saw this new look, I was instantly intrigued and wanted to read it, because book covers matter, and this is a very good one. And it turned out that this was a very good and interesting book to read once you got to the inside. This book is here to help you understand the background of what led Tolkien to write The Lord of the Rings, as well as his entire Middle-earth mythology, and then dives into how various characters and parts of Middle-earth are a reflection of his Roman Catholic faith. So let me just tell you a little bit more now about J.R.R. Tolkien's Sanctifying myth. Welcome to Rev Reads. If you want to discover more books that will help you to see the wonder of books you might have missed, please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the most current reviews. And also like and share this video to help others know about the work of Bradley Birzer. J.R.R. Tolkien's Sanctifying myth is a short 6-chapter work on Tolkien and his life. Bradley begins the book with a chapter that is a short biography on Tolkien himself that I really enjoyed reading. Now, I've read through a couple of biographies on Tolkien already and still learned some new things in this one. So while I thought about skipping it, I'm really glad I stayed for it and read it. Then he has a chapter on the significance of myths, the importance of myths to J.R.R. Tolkien himself, and then the rest of the book is connecting the various elements in Tolkien's writings to his religious beliefs. And the following quote is necessary to see what you will find in the majority of the Sanctifying myth. While no single character or place within The Lord of the Rings directly parallels the places, events, and people of the Christian story, to do so would have made the myth a formal allegory. The myth is, as Tolkien explained, constant with Christian thought and belief. And I think that quote explains why Tolkien's own Roman Catholic community didn't pick up on The Lord of the Rings as quickly as the Protestants and the hippies did. Because if you were a Roman Catholic, when you came to Lord of the Rings, you probably wanted the parallels between the book and your religious faith to be clear, to be overt, but they aren't. For example, J.R.R. Tolkien saw Galadriel as the Virgin Mary, but Galadriel wasn't a virgin. Instead, she was married and had kids the good old-fashioned way. No sign of a virgin birth in sight, and she is also not the mother of either of the two characters who could possibly be a parallel for Jesus Christ, Frodo, or Aragorn. So if you're a Roman Catholic and you're looking for Marian symbology, you are probably going to come away disappointed after reading The Lord of the Rings and being like, where was Mary? I didn't see her at all. Now, I've previously heard people or read in other places about some of these types of connections between Tolkien's faith and his books, but those connections are made explicit in this book because Birzer has quotations from Tolkien himself. But I gotta say, if Tolkien didn't make these connections himself, I would have never seen it, because for me, some of these are just so far off. And that's why Protestants, like me, can read Lord of the Rings and love it, because I would never guess Lady Galadriel was Mary, or the elvish waybread, Lembas, where one small bite fills the stomach of a grown man for a day, but hobbits can eat 4 of them at once. I would never guess elvish waybread was the Eucharist. Wouldn't think of that in a million years. Now, reading back and seeing Tolkien's perspective thanks to this book, you could see how Rome inspired the city of Gondor. Rome was fallen from its former glory. The stewards were not doing the job that they should have been doing. And you could probably see some of Tolkien's own frustrations in Rome, and how the Pope, for instance, allowed for the Mass to be spoken in vernacular and didn't keep it in Latin. Rome wasn't what it once was, and so, as Tolkien would see it, we need a revival of Christendom in the same way Gondor needed a revival and the return of the king, which would then make Aragorn more of a Charlemagne figure of the Holy Roman Empire than someone like Jesus Christ. So what Birzer's book does is this book just adds a little bit of depth to allow the reader to know Tolkien's own mindset and perspectives. For instance, I love reading that Samwise is seen as the common English soldier grinding in the trenches of World War I, or that Treebeard and the Ents are trees fighting against the spread of modernism and industry in Tolkien's dream that the world, and England especially, could go back to more agrarian lifestyles. Now, some of what I found in this book, and if you're a Tolkien fan, you probably feel the same way. Some of this is walking over ground that I have already covered in other books and articles, but I really did enjoy reading this one. It's interesting that for as much as I am frustrated by the Roman Catholic Church as a whole, whether it's their view of salvation, the church, the Pope, the Eucharist, saints, Rome, and on, so many things that are an inspiration for various elements of the Lord of the Rings, while they come from a Roman Catholic viewpoint, there's still so much in the overall Christian viewpoint, such as monotheism, our enemy who is the devil, the problem of evil, the importance of heroism, and the secret fire, who is the Holy Spirit, is the only one who can burn with power before the darkness of the enemy. There's still so much that we have in common in our Christian faith, even if there are so many other areas where we disagree. And this book allows the reader to know what Tolkien was inspired by in his writings. But the beautiful thing is, since Tolkien was writing myth and not allegory, you don't need to be in Tolkien's Roman Catholicism in order to really get into the world that he has written. This is why the hippie movement could run with the Lord of the Rings and embrace environmentalism through his writings. Myth allows one to process the world in which we live without being forced into the viewpoint of the author. Although one thing I did learn in this book that was totally new to me, and that was that Tolkien believed Middle-earth, the world of the Lord of the Rings, that entire world was a gift given to him by God. And he was a steward of this story, and he wasn't the one who was actually creating the world. He didn't believe he was inventing new characters and new stories. Instead, he believed he was taking the gift that God had inspired him to write and being diligent to write this story God had given to him. So it was interesting to read that he felt like he was moved by the inspiration of God. I think he would be the first to say, not in the way the New Testament authors were in writing the Bible. There's a clear divide there. But he had a different kind of inspiration where he believed he was a steward of the story that he was given. So overall, this was a really enjoyable look at Tolkien's work, which provides some more depth and meaning to the Lord of the Rings and the entire Middle-earth. If you find yourself today frustrated by the current postmodern adaptations that are really making a mockery of JRR Tolkien's original work, well, this book will be a breath of refreshing Shire air.